European Parliament to vote on recognizing Russia a state sponsor of terror.
Here's a summary of the article.
The European Parliament has approved the request of the group of European conservatives and reformists to include a debate on the recognition of the Russian Federation as a state sponsor of terrorism in the agenda of the plenary sessions. Citing Bogdan Zoe, CA, a member of the European Parliament for Poland, in a commentary for PAP. Details: a total of 201 members of the European Parliament supported the inclusion of the resolution in the debate, 99 voted against, and 61 abstained. We are glad that this debate will take place and that in November we will vote on this resolution, which will allow us to represent the true relations between Russia and the EU and will underscore the barbarity of Putin and his entourage, as well as those from Western Europe who do business with him, Zoe. CA said. The resolution is expected to be debated and put to a vote in the European Parliament during its session on the 21st to the 24th of November. Ukraine has demanded that the US designate Russia a state sponsor of terrorism. You can find more details on this in European Pravda's interview with Ukraine's ambassador to the US Oksana Markarova. On the 11th of August, the Latvian Seima declared Russia a state sponsor of terrorism, while Estonian Parliament is set to vote on the resolution to recognize Russia a state sponsor of terrorism in the coming days.
This post received a score of 12,000, with an upvote ratio of 97%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
If labeled a state of terrorist, would any country trading or working with Russia be subject to sanctions as well?
Yep. Russian ambassadors will lose all diplomatic immunity, all of the country's foreign assets will be seized. Countries and business caught dealing with Russia will also be sanctioned. The end result is Russia's economy will nosedive even further down the drain and it will take decades to even begin to recover.
I don't understand how EU Parliament works, but does it require all EU member states to vote and how many votes does it take to pass? Not sure whether the US still deals with Russia in some corners, but wouldn't they run afoul of EU sanctions if this passed?
By joining the EU, countries agree to hand over certain powers to the EU, including anything to do with trade and some diplomatic stuff. People still get a say as they can vote for members of the European Parliament.
There's only one way this can go.
Didn't Russia announce today that they're trying to eliminate Ukraine's energy infrastructure before winter? If that isn't terrorism, I don't know what is.
The Parliament must be both blind and corrupt if they doesn't support this.
People have been saying that if Russia is recognized as a state sponsor of terror that there will be large food shortages around the world somehow. Can anyone explain why?
Because a state sponsor of terror isn't just a label, at least for the US. When the US labels a country a state sponsor of terrorism, then they are supposed to stop everyone from trading with them, which means even nations who just import wheat from Russia would get sanctioned unless they stop those imports. However, I feel like nobody would really enforce those and trades like that would get intentionally overlooked, but that is what people mean when they write it would cause problems for other countries. Plenty of officials in the EU have already called what Russia is doing terrorism and called them out on war crimes, so if it was just a label I'm pretty sure Russia would already have it months ago.
Theoretically, food and medicine are excluded. If you embargo those, then it becomes a blockade, which is an act of war. No. A blockade requires an actual threat or military presence to stop merchant vessels from leaving the country. You're thinking of an embargo, which is close to what this would be.
How many kindergartens, maternity wards, critical infrastructure, playgrounds, utilities, and civilian targets need to be randomly exploded with? Before we call Russia what it really is, a state sponsor of terrorism. Let's stop beating around the bush. Call them out on their bullshit.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.